Hey everybody, thanks for joining me, Dr. Ross Marcagiani, with another great talk at Turnpaugh Health and Wellness Center. Today we're going to be talking about methylation. We'll be going over what is really methylation. What happens if methylation becomes dysfunctional and what it can eventually lead to. Also, we'll be talking about what are some ways that we can correct and improve methylation. Let's dive in. So first, really, what is methylation? Or what, more specifically, what is a methyl group? So when we're talking about a methyl group, it's considered like organic terminology or organic chemistry terminology. And all a methyl group is a carbon with 3 hydrogen bonds attached to it. And all we're really doing when we're methylating is we're transferring this carbon and 3 hydrogens, or CH3 for short, to other various atoms, cells, and molecules to help build structures. More specifically, methylation is crucial for the building of our RNA, our DNA, and our phospholipid bilayer. So a phospholipid bilayer is really important for anything that provides a blood barrier, so such as our brain, such as our gut, such as our skin, and our lungs. Those are really crucial barriers that incorporate a phospholipid bilayer. Obviously, we all know what our DNA and RNA help to build our genetic composition and express who we are. Also, we'll talk about something called homocysteine in just a second, but methylation is super crucial for the development of neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin, our catecholamines. These are really crucial for the development of that brain chemistry. Also, outside of the brain, it's really important for hepatic biotransformation. Basically, liver helps with liver detoxification. It's all really important as well. Methylation helps with our mylan production, or basically the fatty coating around our nerves to help increase cell signaling or speed up the signal of neurotransmitters, which is the myelin. Methylation is very crucial with that. So really, at its simplicity, methylation helps build our RNA, DNA, our phospholipid bilayer, helps with our neurotransmitters and our vascular function in our brain, and it also influences liver detox and some other features that we'll talk about in just a second. So here we have the methylation cycle. I don't want you to get caught up in all of the different words and the confusion. I'll go over this and we'll just run through it very quickly. So first we're going to start with the methylation cycle is methionine. So methionine, this can be found very rich in red meats and high in protein, specifically the red meats. There's some research out there that's saying high methionine levels lead to increased aging, but a lot of this research has been debunked with good vegetable intake with it, good antioxidant intake with it as well. So making sure that we're starting off with methionine. And as we continue down the cycle, we eventually get to something called homocysteine. And this is a marker that we can measure specifically in the blood. So we want to make sure homocysteine is no more than 8, we want it lower than 8, I believe it's millimolar, but lower than 8 in the blood. And typically, the reason why we want this is because if we see homocysteine levels getting higher than 8, typically 10, 12, even into like the 15, possibly 20 range, is when we start to see this marker being associated with cardiovascular risk, more importantly, stroke risk. What happens with high homocysteine levels is the cerebral blood vessels are actually start to become destroyed by this marker, and it leads into basically cerebral dementia or increased risk of Alzheimer's disease or basically other cognitive dysfunctions that we want to monitor and make sure that we're not being predisposed to. So really important that we monitor that homocysteine level. But from here, as you can see on the chart, once we go through and we make this homocysteine, that we basically can shuttle it over into glutathione. And glutathione is our major antioxidant for the brain. So that's why we kind of want a Goldilocks principle. We don't want our homocysteine in the tank because it helps to convert over to glutathione, but we don't want our homocysteine skyrocketing and increase our risk for stroke and early dementia and Alzheimer-like symptoms. So that's really crucial. Now, since we've kind of gone into this, we're going to talk about areas that can go wrong. So if we typically have a high vegetarian diet, it's not going to be like a good source of methionine. That's where we're gonna start to struggle first. We want to make sure we're consuming adequate methionine with green vegetables to prevent that anti-aging, so we can give the raw materials to start the methylation cycle. Next, we can see here if we have anemia, or if we're dysglycemic, we don't have control of our blood sugar, we're not going to be able to cleave the ATP to be able to produce SAMe, which is S-adenosylmethionine. So making sure we're looking at your blood markers, that we're not anemic, and making sure we have control of your blood sugar. Next, we want to make sure we're making SAMe. The reason why, this is one of the crucial ways that we make the RNA, the DNA, and our phospholipid bilayer that we talked about earlier. So making sure we're, kind of from the start back, that, making sure we're consuming methionine, we control our anemia and our blood sugar so we can produce SAMe. We talked about the key point of homocysteine and the Goldilocks principle there. Also, we can see that chronic inflammation plays a role in a couple pieces here. So making sure that we're controlling our inflammation, we're controlling our antioxidant level, meaning we're getting more antioxidants. We're looking at your high sensitive CRP, we're looking at a glyc-A, we're looking at markers of inflammation to make sure that we monitor this. We're looking at acute phase reactants such as your ferritin, making sure that we control inflammation so that it's not going to inhibit the transformation from homocysteine to methionine, or the transformation from homocysteine to cystathionine. These are crucial steps that we need to make sure that are happening appropriately. So how do we make sure that we're having good methylation? So make sure we have, like we talked about, we're eating good protein sources that are high in methionine, or red meats with some veggies. We make sure we're not becoming anemic, and we have control of our blood sugar. We want to monitor our chronic inflammation. We want to make sure we're taking adequate sources of B vitamins, our folate, our B6, our B12. These are going to help influence and speed up the methylation cycle, and to produce our glutathione, which is our major brain antioxidant. So those are some tips. I hope you enjoyed this talk and found a little bit more details about what methylation is. If you want your markers run to make sure that we have good brain health, or not increased risk for cerebellar dementia or Alzheimer's disease, or any of those cognitive dysfunctions, please don't hesitate to reach out at the website or contact the number below. And if there's anyone that can benefit from this, please share this information. We're all in this to get better and healthier. And thank you for your time, and have a wonderful day.